The snow was red by noon, not from sunset, from artillery. In the forests west of Moscow, entire Soviet battalions vanished in hours, swallowed by machine gun fire and frozen ground. The men who survived would later call it something simple: the meat grinder. For years, the Soviet government barely spoke of it. This was Rzhev, and it nearly broke an army. After the German advance on Moscow failed in late 1941, the front did not stabilize. It twisted. Near the town of Rzhev, German forces held a massive bulge in their lines, a protrusion aimed toward the Soviet capital. To Stalin, it was a threat that could not exist. To the Germans, it was a defensive anchor, so both sides prepared for something worse than maneuver. Attrition. In January 1942, Soviet forces launched their first major offensive. Thousands of infantry moved forward through waist-deep snow. No armored breakthrough, no dramatic blitz. Just men on foot, advancing into forests already zeroed by German artillery. Trees exploded into splinters. Snow turned to mud and blood. Some units advanced a kilometer, some advanced 50 meters, some disappeared entirely. Imagine being 19. Your boots are soaked. Your rifle bolt is stiff with frozen grease. You cannot feel your fingers. You are told the German line is just beyond the tree line. You are also told retreat is not an option. The whistle blows, you rise from the snow, and you run into smoke. German defensive lines around Rzhev were deep, layered trenches, hidden bunkers, machine gun nests positioned to overlap fields of fire. Every Soviet advance was met with interlocking bursts cutting across open snowfields. Bodies piled in drifts, and still the orders came. Advance again. The fighting did not end in days. It stretched into months, operation after operation, encirclements that failed, breakthroughs that collapsed. Entire Soviet formations were surrounded in forests and destroyed where they stood. Some units fought until ammunition ran out. Some froze during the night without medical care. Some simply vanished into white smoke. The casualty numbers grew so large they stopped sounding real. The Germans suffered too. The Ninth Army held the line under relentless assault. Temperatures dropped below -30 degrees Celsius. Rifles jammed. Fuel froze. Wounded men often died before medics could reach them. Supply lines choked in snow. And yet the defensive line held. Not because it was comfortable, because it had to. By late 1942, Rzhev had become something else. It was no longer a tactical position. It was a drain, a constant hemorrhage of men and material for both sides. The forest floor was churned so violently by shell fire that trenches collapsed into craters. The dead were buried by snowfall before they could be collected. Some soldiers later said they stepped on frozen bodies hidden beneath the drifts, boots striking bone under white silence. And still, no decisive breakthrough came. In March 1943, after more than a year of grinding combat, the Germans withdrew from the Rzhev salient. Not in collapse, not in panic, in order. They pulled back to shorter defensive lines and left the forest behind. When Soviet forces entered the abandoned positions, they found what remained: shattered trenches, burned villages, a battlefield so saturated with death that even victory felt hollow. Estimates vary. Some historians say hundreds of thousands. Others suggest over 1 million killed, wounded, or missing across the Rzhev operations. A number rivaling Stalingrad. Yet few outside Russia know its name. Why was it forgotten? Because Rzhev was not a clean triumph, not a dramatic turning point. It was brutal, confused, costly. It was endurance without glory. Stalin rarely highlighted it in speeches. Official reports minimized its scale. But veterans remembered. They remembered the forests, the snow, the endless artillery, the sound. The men who fought there never forgot the sound. Not the sound of victory, the sound of constant shelling. Day after day, the bombardment rarely stopped. Even at night, flares lit the sky over the treetops. Sleep came in minutes, not hours. And when it did, it was shattered by concussion waves rolling through frozen trenches. Some Soviet soldiers later wrote that the ground never felt solid. It shook constantly, as if the earth itself wanted the battle to end. German letters home described the same thing. White forests stripped of bark by shrapnel, branches hanging like broken ribs, snow that no longer looked clean. For both sides, the psychological toll grew heavier than the physical one. Men stopped speaking between assaults. They conserved energy, conserved warmth, conserved hope. One Soviet officer admitted that entire attacks were launched simply to maintain pressure, not because they would succeed, but because stopping felt like surrender, and surrender was unthinkable. When the Germans withdrew, there was no dramatic surrender, no symbolic photograph, just absence, abandoned guns, collapsed bunkers, frozen bodies half buried in snowdrifts. That may be why Rzhev faded from memory. It did not provide a simple story. It was a contest of endurance, a battle that drained both sides without delivering glory. For decades, it remained overshadowed. But among those who survived, the name endured. The meat grinder, not because of strategy, not because of maneuver, but because of what it consumed. Today, a memorial stands near Rzhev, a towering soldier looking over the forests where so many vanished. The snow still falls there, the trees still sway in the wind, and beneath them lies a battlefield that reshaped an army, even if history tried to forget it. Some battles are remembered for how they ended. Rzhev is remembered for how long it lasted, and for the men who walked into the snow knowing many would never walk back out.